Hi, I'm Dan, this is our midlife crisis motorcyclist, and this is the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 I'm going to be running for the next little while, which gives me an opportunity to ask, has this bike of choice for explorers and adventurers actually lost its way a little bit? I ask that because fans of the OG Himalayan 410 loved that bike for its fix-it-with-hammers simplicity, whereas everyone else just thought it was slow and unbearably crude. Fast forward to this new one, and fans of that OG Himalayan 410 think this bike is perhaps a bit modern and fancy, whereas everyone else still thinks it's slow and unbearably crude. Which is a bit unfair really, because the 450 is a much more modern bike with nearly twice the power of the old 410. It just happens to look pretty similar, so I think everybody assumes that it's just as basic. Which is weird really, isn't it? Because usually in motorcycling, nostalgia sells, but I think in the case of Royal Enfield, it might actually have bitten it on the backside. Add to that the fact that since this bike launched, there's been an influx of new Chinese adventure bikes at a similar price point, all of which offer more modern looks, more powerful engines, all the gadgets and gizmos and all that kind of thing. Is there still a room in the market for the rugged charms of the Himalayan? I guess that's something we're going to explore over the coming months. But before we do that, let's have a quick recap on the bike itself. Now, heart and soul of it is the new liquid-cooled single-cylinder Sherpa 450 engine, which has 40 horsepower and 40 newton meters of torque against the 23 horsepower and 32 newton meters of the old bike. Quite the upgrade there. It's also a much more modern bike in construction, so it uses a twin-spar tubular steel frame. It's got upside down forks, it's got a linkage driven rear shock, both with 200mm of travel. It's got an adventure spec 21-inch front wheel. It's got ride by wire, it's got rider mode, it's got switchable ABS. It's even got that tripper dash which you can connect to your phone for navigation, music and all that kind of thing. It's also quite an impressively light bike for what it is. Standard weight for this is 196 kilos, fueled and ready to go, which is pretty impressive for a bike of this stature and for a bike this cheap as well, because yes, the basic Himalayan 450 starts at a smidge over £5,000. The one you see here with the tubeless wheels and a few other bits and bobs like that costs more like £6,500, but it's still a very affordable bike. The problem being that it's pushed very hard by new arrivals like the Vogue DS525X, which offers, as I say, much more modern adventure bike vibe, loads more tech, loads more features, all for a similar kind of price. What these new Chinese bikes can't match the Royal Enfield for, though, is that sense of rugged charm, the soul. But will that matter in the depths of a British winter when really heated grips might be a bit more welcome? Well, I guess we'll find out, won't we? Okay, so it's nice to revisit the Himalayan a while after I did the launch for the bike. That was in Sardinia. I'm now in autumnal England, but I remember being charmed by that bike when I first rode it. Admittedly, I hadn't ridden a whole lot of bikes up to that point, so I was still pretty green, but there was just something very likeable about the Himalayan. It's a bike with a story behind it, with some character. It's got a very individual look, and that carries with it some expectation, which is kind of ties in with what I was saying in the intro about the expectation of people who know the reputation of the 410 and kind of project that onto this new one in terms of their expectation that it's slow and crude and all the rest of it, when, as I've been saying, in fact, this is a modern bike, this is a modern adventure bike. Just one with a bit of a unique look and character about it. There goes the theory anyway. I think one of the things that's struck me getting back onto this bike as well is just how manageable it is as well. which is surprising because it's a big bike. You know, it's an adventure bike with 200mm of suspension travel. It's got a 21-inch front wheel. It should in theory be quite tall and intimidating, but it's not. The seat is only 825mm in its standard setting. The frame's quite slim because it's a single cylinder. So actually it's not a particularly scary bike, and that lack of weight helps as well. So sub 200 kilos for a bike of this type, never mind one that's made of girders and all that kind of thing. That's a pretty impressive figure, and it just helps with that all-round sense of usability and manageability. Now I just have to go easy around here because it is damn slippy at the moment, so bear with me if I'm a little bit nervous here. Only on road tyres as well, so but I did think it was worth bringing the bike on some light off-road just to give a sense of it, because that's the beauty of the Himalayan, of course, isn't it, that it's built to take you where other motorbikes would fear to tread, and so goes the dream of it anyway. I mean, admittedly a slightly gravelly track outside of Halifax is not the most remote or exciting place one could ride a Himalayan, but it's a start, isn't it? And hopefully over the course of running the bike I can test the theory that it'll do a bit of off-roading and things like that as well, so we'll see how that goes. But as a starter, this is not a bad warm-up for the bike, and it feels super confidence inspiring as well. You know, you've got that big front wheel, the 200mm of suspension travel. That's a lot more than a lot of modern adventure bike rivals have. They also tend to have 19-inch front wheels, things like that. So yeah, it's got the off-road chops. That suspension is Showa as well, so it's not your usual bargain basement Royal Enfield stuff. It's decent kit. Say the rear one's linkage driven, so yeah, it's okay. It's not an enduro machine, but it's credible there. But also what I want to find out is how it gets on as a commuter bike, as something that you can use every day for riding on the motorway, for riding to work, all that kind of thing. And that's where the questions over the engine and the power, that's going to be interesting as well, because obviously you don't need a huge amount of power for scratching about off-road. But one of the big criticisms of the previous one was that it was so slow. It was, by some estimations, actually a bit of a liability, particularly if you wanted to go on the motorway or something like that. But this new one with its Sherpa 450 engine is in theory a lot more capable. They say we've got nearly twice the power of the old one, but it's also a modern engine. It's liquid cooled, it's pretty smooth, it's a modern engine, it's torquey, it's got ride by wire, all these kind of things, got different rider modes, and it's got a nice torquey power delivery as well. So that's the kind of flexibility that you want. And while I've not yet ridden it on a fast road, we did get a clip on the launch event, and it didn't feel like it was desperately lacking in power in that scenario. So I am confident or hopeful that it will be perfectly viable out there on the road as well. Now, true, it is lacking on power and punch a little bit compared with some of those Chinese rivals. So that Vosges I mentioned, the 525, That's got a twin cylinder engine with 47 horsepower, bang on the A2 limit. So yeah, some of those rival bikes are a little bit more sophisticated and powerful, but I guess we'll see, won't we, whether that stereotype of the Himalayan being just too slow to mix it in modern traffic really does play out. As I say, on previous experience, I think it'll be fine, but it'll be interesting over the course of a longer test to see if that novelty wears off. See if actually, yeah, it does feel a bit underpowered. But certainly on these first impressions, it's got the manageability, it's got comfort over these bumpy tracks, it's got decent engine, it's got the supporting electronics, although no traction control I don't think. I think it might be lacking a slipper clutch as well. I did have some rear wheel lockup back there as well. So yeah, still pretty basic, but compared with the old one, a much more sophisticated machine. And I'm interested to see how that plays out over an extended loan. But first impressions on home turf is kind of as I'd hope, that this is a bike with character as well as capability. Let's see how that plays out. So there we go, nice to get reacquainted with the Royal Enfield Himalayan on some familiar ground, and after some time away from it and riding a lot of other bikes as well. And I think, per what I said on the onboard and in the introduction, my mission for this long-term test is to kind of try and overcome that stereotype that the Royal Enfield Himalayan is just a one-trick pony. It's just a bike for explorers who don't mind trundling along at low speeds, that if you want to use it as a modern bike for commuting and all the rest of it, it's just not up to it. Hopefully it can be proven otherwise. Hopefully I can demonstrate to you that this is a modern bike with all the capabilities that you would expect, but also the character that we love about the Royal Enfield Himalayan. So transferring some of that, yeah, that image onto a bike that's a lot more usable and has a much broader bandwidth of abilities. But I guess we'll find out, won't we? In terms of the bike itself, I do enjoy the fact that it doesn't look like anything else in the market. I mean, certainly with these Chinese adventure bikes and a lot of the other budget brands in the market now, adventure bikes in general, there's a very generic look, isn't there? They all pretty much look the same. They're more or less interchangeable if you don't know what the stickers were on them. Whereas the Royal Enfield stands apart as something genuinely unique and different. So if that can be turned into a positive rather than a negative, I'll feel that my time with the bike has been a success. But then it may not turn out to be so. By the end of it, I may end up totally fed up and disillusioned by the fact that it's maybe a bit slow and crude. I'm really interested to find out. It's one of those interesting things about a long-term test. You can really get to grips with the bike and learn what it's like to live with. To those ends, if you've got any questions or things you'd like me to try out while I've got the bike, then just drop me a line in the comments thread and we'll see about that and cover it in a future video. So yeah, feel free to get involved in that sense. And for the meantime, if you enjoyed the video, please hit like. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, please do so. That would be great. And in the meantime, I'll say goodbye, thanks for watching, and ride safe.